Hi, how are we doing there? Welcome to the Allerton project. Phil Jarvis, nearly Facebook Live. So I'm starting in this field of wheat, which is going to go into breakfast cereals, all your favourites, some of them Kellogg's. Great stuff. So, and looking here, we're looking at our green headland margins full of phacelia, which is this lovely purple flower, and then a radish, and then we've got a vetch in the bottom here as well. So why have these two together? Well, firstly, our food in the middle here, around the edges where we've got butterflies, bees, birds, we're putting this mix in. Just spotted some vetch. Look at that, just down here. Look at that, lovely vetch, got a lovely flower on it. Fantastic. Okay, so this bit around the outside, great for bees, as I said, great for pollinators, and right next to the habitat like the hedges and the grass margins. Come on, let's go and have a look at a bit more around the farm. Back again, enters from the left. Okay guys, I want to really start today about talking about food and producing it in these shores for the British public. You know, my business and making sure that I can invest it in the future really does depend on us having a good trade in with our own shores into Europe and across the globe. So really fair for everybody, fair for us, and not balanced one way or the other or tipping one way or the other. So please, if you're buying food, look for the red tractor on it. That'll help British farmers like me produce the food that we need and make sure that we can still look after the British countryside. This field here is a spring wheat. After the wet winter we had, we planted it quite late. It'll still be, so we're in early August now, it'll still be another fortnight at least before it sort of turns a more golden brown. Then we'll be able to get the combine in here. Not expecting a terrific yield, but hopefully enough to keep the bank manager happy. Okay, see you soon. Hi guys, I just stopped here just to have the obligatory sheep action shot here because I know some of you like livestock. Earlier in the year we did something walking through this agroforestry. Sheep are in the background there, grazing away. Probably need a few more in here actually because the grass has really taken on, but look how the trees have grown. Really getting a good canopy over them, still providing some grass from the sheep. Yeah, we'll move on, but the agroforestry project's going really well. So I've just stopped here to talk to you about a bees and seed mix. Well, this time of year, there's bees and butterflies, hoverflies, a whole host of insects using it. There's some sunflowers in it, there's some kale in it, there's phacelia, buckwheat, and there's a few other little, well, some interesting, I'd like to call them wildflowers, some weeds as well, I'll give you that. But there's also a point that once this is flowered and set seed, it'll be really useful for farmland birds as well. And this is the sort of thing that we take out of production, put it into what they call a countryside stewardship scheme. So rather than growing food in it for us as humans, I'm growing it for farmland birds. And the government will give me some money to do that. And hopefully that keeps the food chain happy and I keep my bank balance happy as well. And everything gets a chance to share in the countryside. So I'm wandering into this field here to talk about our food again and the countryside and all our habitats. So you should be seeing me coming into range now somewhere, and I'll just talk about this crop of spring oats here on the left. Once again, breakfast cereal, may even be oat milk in the future. And you've got your green headland similar to the first pic we showed. But I thought I'd tell you something different here, which is mainly a seed mix for the winter. So it's got things like triticale in it, barley, linseed, and this is really, whilst it's not really for pollinators this time of year, you can actually see the blue flowers in here, which is the linseed flowering, and a few butterflies using it. But you've got things like millet in here, which is red and white millet. Red millet's a lot earlier, so it's quite good for early season food for birds. But all this sway of cereals will be pretty good for songbirds come sort of January, February time when they're finding things short to eat from elsewhere. So I just thought I'd stop at this location as well to talk to you about the value of other habitats. So you can see going away from me is a nice grass margin here. So that's really useful for things, birds nesting in it, lots of things like beetles. There are one or two enemies in there for us like slugs and aphids as well. But hopefully we've got enough crop pest predators in there to deal with them. but we've got a ditch and we've got a very mature hedge here with some blackthorn in it, some hawthorn, there's some hazel, there'll be dog rose and field maple as well. And even behind it, there's probably a 200-year-old shelter belt of things like ash and cherry and oak. So it's got lots of constituents of a real good habitat, a mixed habitat. So woodland, hedgerow, grass margin, my much talked about green headland, and the crop that we'll be eating later on in our breakfast cereal. So it's all there in a condensed area. Okay, let's move on. Let's go and see if we can find some machinery working. Just thought I'd film here in the woodland here, just to give you an idea of what goes on at this time of year in here. It's quite quiet, not many birds around at the moment. They're probably out all foraging elsewhere. But you'll see there's a bird feeder there. Sometimes actually there's a blackbird just come up into that cherry tree there. Some water we put down for it there, and we supplementary feed. So in the winter time, we'll have some feeders in here. It's nice and protected, so birds are sort of quite away from their predators, sparrowhawks and things like that, which might take them out. Lots of protection down here. At the moment, a couple of butterflies running through there. Saw my first hair streaks today on the farm for a long time, so that's really good news. But coming back to the birds and that, in the winter time, we'll supplementary feed that will give them a safe habitat. Things like millet will go into the seed, some wheat, some oilseed rape, and there'll be some sunflower hearts as well. And that really gives them a nice, nutritious, meal during the day. So anyway, it's nice and quiet in here, nice and cool as well. It's probably 25 degrees elsewhere, but at the moment, it's yeah, quite peaceful and nice in here. Okay, let's go. I said machinery, let's go and find it. So of course, the best laid plans of mice and men. Combine gang just finished as I get here, so no action shots, I'm afraid. But here's the big yellow beast. It's just combined this field of beans. They'll either go for human consumption or they go into animal feed. This combine has a 30-foot wide bed at the front. Well, that's about 9 meters, just 9 meters plus. And it can do probably the equivalent of at least 100 football pitches a day. So it's a really fast machine, a lot of turnover. It isn't going to be too busy this year. Crops are going to be quite thin, but when you've got to go, you've got to go with these machines. We'll have a quick tour around. I'll show you around. Let's go and have a little look at what's going on. So if you see around here, you've got the, that's where all the stuff goes in and gets fed in: beans, oilseed rape, wheat and oats and barley. So yeah, now that looks good. And yeah, it's just had its first outing. We'll just come around this side as well, and you'll see where the unloading auger is up there, that long spout up there. That allows you to it to come out from the side of the combine and actually fill up the trailers. So yeah, sorry guys, there's not much action on the combine front, but as they say, the early bird catches the worm. It looks like I'll have to get out of bed earlier to catch the combine next time. Okay, let's go and see whether we can see the hay gang there, because they're baling some hay on another part of the farm. Let's go and see what they're up to. So I've stopped somewhere else. I was going to go straight to the hay gang, but thought I'd stop here. We've got a mix here we're using. It's got a lot of fennel in it. Fennel's really good for insects and hoverflies especially. It smells a bit like aniseed. Actually, it's quite addictive. It's quite nice as well if you're into aniseed, of course. But we've also got our bees and seeds mix over here, and it's got some lucerne in it as well, which come up from last year, and some chicory. Sunflowers are just beginning to get their heads above the rest of it. So in about 3 or 4 weeks time, this will be just a sea of sunflowers. But there's lots of stuff in there. It's got a bit cooler at the moment, so perhaps not as many butterflies around, but there's bees and there's flies in here, and they're all working away. In fact, there's a honeybee just down here. How you doing, mate? Yep. Oh, there's a horsefly there. You want to keep away from horseflies. But yeah, no, it's looking good. Right, I promise you, we'll go and look at the haymaking gang. Okay, well, I've jinxed it again because as you can see, the hay gang have gone, left the bales here, wrapped it all up. This is the last stop on the tour of Facebook Almost Live, and it's in our hay meadow, where it's a traditional hay meadow. Not many of these left in Leicestershire. About 50 different species of flowers and grasses, from yellow rattle to red clover, white clover, a whole host, a plethora of grasses as well. Very sweet, smelling this hay. It got baled earlier today, and what we'll probably do is leave it out in the field. If there is a bit of green in there, it'll just over it doesn't matter if it gets rained on. This is like a nice roof over it, also the water will run off now. It's fairly safe in there for a day or two, so if it does heat up, it can heat up in the field here, bit of wind on it. It is actually a beautiful field. It's called Ernie Hill. It's one of my favourite places on the farm. It's some great karma and a panorama of East Leicestershire. Once again, my green headland, a lovely little woodland in there. And that's all for today. So we've been around lots of habitats, lots of food. Keep buying stuff with the red tractor on. That'd be really cool if you could do. And we'll maybe tune in again and catch some more Farmer Phil on Facebook almost live. I'll just give you a panorama of the countryside as we go around. So from our oats down here to the woodland I talked about, to the sheep grazing there, you can see some of our trials on, just in the far horizon there, or some white strips, and some of our grazing trials. That'll probably be another video in the future. But hope you've enjoyed it. You can find me on Twitter at FarmerPhil1, and yeah, I'll be happy afterwards to take any questions. So if you do, drop them in the box below and we'll see if we can't strike up a question and answer. Thanks a lot for listening, and thanks a lot for watching.